We're down here in southwest Oklahoma going after a big old buck.
I just shot a 15 point. I just shot
So my first experience hunting southwest Oklahoma was in 2019 when my buddy Jake invited me out to hunt. I was living in Central Texas at the time, and I didn't know how much I'd be able to hunt Oklahoma this year because it was like a 6-hour drive just to the southern border. We shot some does in mid-October, me and Jake did on the same sit. So fast forward through October of 2019, and Jake invites me back out to hunt in southwest Oklahoma. And I see more deer down here than I've ever seen in my life. Mature bucks running everywhere, and Jake puts me on one of their lease properties right down just south of where he lives. I ended up shooting the biggest buck of my life on this November morning. I believe it was November 11th. And buck comes into about 15 yards. I shoot him a little bit high, but he runs off and expires in the field. It was probably ran 80 to 100 yards and just died really quickly. The biggest buck of my life, scored 134 inches with a 6-inch eye guard broken off. And that was my start of hunting southwest Oklahoma. Fast forward to 2020, I believe I came out and hunted with Jake a couple times, but didn't end up shooting anything. I filmed him on several hunts. In 2021, after being sold on the southwest Oklahoma bug, I decided I would love to continue to hunt here, but not just on a permission or a add-on basis. I'd love to have a piece of property that I could lease and hunt down here. To my surprise, in mid-August of 2021, Jake says, hey, there's a separate piece of acreage on the other side of the river that we do not hunt at all, and ended up being about 110 acres. We'd be interested in leasing it to you if you would want to. It was just grown up with about 10-foot tall grass throughout the entirety of the property. This piece of property was bedding only. There's big ag around pretty much every border of the property except the river. And I decided this is a great bedding area. All I need to do is set up stands. There's already existing feeders throughout the place. And if I set up stands and just wait, there's no way that I can't get somewhat of a mature buck to come through here throughout the entirety of the season. I had a lot of great pictures throughout the end part of the summer, moving into September, and lots of mature bucks, some non-typical bucks as well, but a lot of deer over that 4.5 age range. I was gonna wait for that first cold snap of October to strike. And that's exactly what I did. On October 15th, I took that Friday off of work, drove up early on Thursday, or late on Thursday night.
All right, good morning, everybody. It is Friday, October 15th. We drove up a day early to hunt our lease in southwest Oklahoma, and have been having a lot of good bucks on it. I mean, a nice 11 point, several 8s, some other freaky non-typical bucks, but we got the first big cold snap of the year. It was going from highs in the 90s down to the mid 70s, and then lows in the 80s or high 70s to actually in the 40s. So got that first big cold snap. Hopefully these bucks are up and moving, working scrapes, and coming to food. I'm gonna actually be hunting over corn this morning, which is not something I get to do very often because I hunt on public 75% of the time. So that's what we're doing. We're down here in southwest Oklahoma going after a big old buck, and let you know when we get up in the tree.
Red Bull and Oreos double stuffed. Breakfast of champions.
And as I sat in the stand that morning, I just thought everything feels right. The temperature feels right. We're starting to move into that later part of October where bucks are starting to make more rubs and scrapes and just do buck stuff. So I get up in the stand, I hear something coming into the feeder, and I throw up my binos, and it's that really early gray light, and I actually have some footage of it. But I throw up my binos and I see what I think is about 150 class buck. And he's sitting at 20 yards. You know, you can always see a little bit better through your binoculars than you can with your eyes, especially in that gray light. And I noticed he had tall G2s, tall threes, and he just looked like a good buck. I had no idea how old he was, and we're obviously trying to manage for mature bucks on this lease. So I just picked up my bow just in case he did end up being a mature buck. But I don't know if he got some of my scent or there was just a big gust of wind. What I think happened was a big gust of wind came and shook the trees, and this deer just blew out of this place. I mean, and I watched the first buck I'd seen during the 2021 season just run off. And I was pretty discouraged after that because I thought, man, this might be the only deer that I get a shot at this weekend. And I probably could have snuck one in there, but I just wanted to confirm which buck it was. Well, fast forward about 15 minutes and I hear some more rustling coming out of this bedding area, and it's a doe and a fawn. And I would get to know this doe and the fawn throughout the rest of the season because they were regulars at this feeder, but they come in and they start eating and they stay for probably an hour. After an hour after light, here comes the first buck. I called him the turkey foot buck because he had a normal 4-point on one side, and on his other side had pretty much a main beam and then a triple split eye guard on that one side that looked similar to a turkey foot. And I estimated him to be about 3.5 years old. Didn't have any history with this place, so I didn't know for sure. But he was a really good looking buck. And I was sending pictures to him on everyone on Snapchat asking, you know, how old is he? I was just praying someone would text back and say, I think he's 4.5, because he was a good looking deer. That one eye guard on the one side was probably close to 8 or 9 inches. But turkey foot stayed around for a while, and it was about, I think, 9 o'clock. I was sitting with several deer eating at the feeder, and I looked to my left, and here comes a buck I've never seen before out of the brush. There's a really defined trail about 20 yards to my left, and he steps out, and I look to my left, and I know that he's such a weird and unique deer, and I know he's mature immediately when I see him. I just shot a 15-point. I'm not kidding. I just smoked him, and he's down. I swear to God, he's down. He is the funkiest buck I've ever seen in my life. He has like 15 points. Yes. Oh my God, yes. It's not even close. Yes. He's down. He's like a 6-year-old deer. I literally just shot him 15 yards. Or 25 yards, sorry. I didn't know if he was 10 points or 20 points. I just split the difference and said, I think this deer's got like 15 points. He's just got points going everywhere. And he walks by at about 25 yards. I didn't get my binos up. I didn't second guess it. I knew this was a 5-year-old buck. The shot just broke as clean as a shot has ever broke for me. I called just about everybody in my contacts list and started sending pictures and videos of the shot to everyone to see what they thought. And the consensus was that the shot was gonna put this weird, non-typical funky buck down. So I ended up waiting a couple hours until Jake showed up so he could go track the deer with me. And it is time to get down and look at this buck, man. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to get down and just check him out. He's the coolest, most mature buck that I've ever shot in my life. I just feel so lucky, so blessed. So let's get down, I'll take you guys along and we'll check him out. And I found my arrow pretty much immediately, or half of it. It had broke off as it went through the deer. And so I grabbed that half and we immediately found a little bit of blood I had heard the deer fall while I was on the phone. In there is just 8 to 10 foot tall, so you get down on the ground level and you just can't see anything. So we spent about 10 or 15 minutes walking through the grass like dummies looking for this deer. And of course, as a bow hunter, you start to wonder, well, did I make a good shot on the deer? Did it die? Is my mind just playing tricks on me? But Jake said, let's move back to the blood trail and let's just take it slower. And so we did that and immediately picked back up on blood. And about 20 yards down the trail in the tall grass, here he lay.
Yeah. Blood deer. He didn't go 20 yards.
Oh my gosh.
What a fuck.
He didn't go 20.
Oh my goodness. What in the world?
Look at that. What do you think of that sucker?
That's gnarly.
When I said I saw him crash, I did. I thought he was more to the left.
That's a cool buck.
What do you think of that?
Got a short face Roman nose on him.
That video I sent you, did you see him standing next to that 3-year-old?
Yeah.
He was just like...
Well, whenever he walked in, I mean, he looked old. He looked mature.
Yeah.
You get a look at his body. He's got a fat neck.
When I dropped him off at the taxidermist, I've never asked a taxidermist to age a deer for me, but this one I just had to know. He was like 213 pounds, field dressed when I weighed him. Just a huge, probably the biggest body deer I've ever killed. And my taxidermist texted me back probably a couple weeks later and said, hey, that funky deer that you dropped off was 7.5 years old. Fast forward to now, we've got the mount back of the deer. He's super unique. The mount turned out perfectly, and I know that this deer is going to be a conversation starter for years to come. The most mature, the most unique deer that I've ever killed, and I'm super happy to have him back here on the wall and have the mount to share with you guys. So what this buck meant to me was, it was sort of symbolic of the fruit of relationships that have happened throughout the last 4 to 5 years of my life. I've got to spend a lot of time with good friends in Southwest Oklahoma, a part of the state where I had never really spent any time in my life ever up until a few years ago. And just the fruit of these relationships has been, a lot of it has been mutual love of deer hunting. And when you find those people that have the same passion that you do, it means a lot. And this deer was just symbolic of all those things coming full circle. I learned this year, the less I hunt, the more likely a mature buck like this is going to be using the property that I'm hunting. And I'm looking more, the older I get, for more quality hunts and less quantity, especially on private land, not so much on public. But I learned this year that if you stay out of your properties and just let them rest and let deer be deer, you're gonna have a lot better odds of shooting one come the fall.